Hello traders. Today we're going to learn how to use an option chain. It's really important that we understand how option chains work and what they are if we want to trade options. At the beginning, it might look a bit intimidating, but actually it's very simple. It's just a lot of numbers when you start looking at it, but it's very easy. So today I got an option chain from TradingView and Amazon. We're going to go through it together. So option chains are basically showing us all the available option contracts, because remember, options are contracts for a particular stock. So for the moment, we have all the available contracts, option contracts for Amazon. Now, we see that these option chains are organized by expiration and by strike price. So the expiration, as you can see, we're selecting the 16th of January. Remember, expirations on option chains are only on Fridays. And the strike price. Now, the strike price you see here is the price at which the option holder can buy, in the case of calls, or sell, in case of puts, the underlying stock. The expiration date, as I said, is the last day of the option contract. Is the last day that the option is valid, that exists. So if I place a trade today and it's expiring the 16th of January, it means that the 16th of January, this option will cease to exist. Now, let's go to the bid and ask, because if we want to buy options, we need to have a look at the bid and ask, like we would do with stocks. So the bid is the highest price a buyer is willing to pay for the option, and the ask price is the lowest price a seller is willing to accept for the option. It's nice to see when the bid and ask are very close together. For example, at this strike price at 240, you see that you have an ask at 0.88 and a bid at 0.84. So the spread is tight. It's only 0.04. That's what we want to see when we want to buy options, because we want liquid options. We want also good volume. In fact, here you see we have volume on both sides. And what we like to see in theory is enough volume per option contract, because the volume indicates the number of contracts that are traded during the current session. We want to see a big number. Now here on TradingView, they're not showing the options open interest, which is basically the total of outstanding contracts, how many contracts are available. We also need to consider that, but you have it on most brokerages. So let's imagine that we have OI here written, and we have some numbers. We also want to see not only big volume, but even enough contracts outstanding. So if I decide to buy an option contract at 240 for Amazon, I look at the spread, tight spread, that's good. I look at the volume, good volume. And then I look at the open interest. And if I see hundreds of contracts available, that's also a good sign. So I'm more inclined to buy that option. Now, we know that if we think that the stock might go up, we buy calls. And if we think that the stock might go down, we buy puts. We're not going to discuss now shorting options. That's going to be subject for another lesson. But let's understand how option Greeks, the ones that you see here, delta, gamma, theta, vega, are affecting the option price. Very important that we understand how these Greeks move to understand how the option price is affected. Now, let's start with delta. Delta tells us how much the option moves when the stock moves. For example, let's see, we have here at 237.5, we have a delta of 0.53. So if Amazon moves a $1, the option will be about 0.53 up. So when the stock moves $1, the delta moves 53. So our option price moves up 0.53 cents. Now let's look at the theta. The theta is the time decay. So every day that passes, our option loses value, even if the price doesn't move. You can see that theta are all negative numbers on both calls and puts. This is because time's ticking. You know, that's also life. Time is always ticking. So the option value is bleeding as time passes. That's really important to consider. especially if we are simply buying options. Then we have Vega. Vega measures the volatility. Okay, more volatility, options are more expensive. Less volatility, options get crushed. So if we have volatility going up, let's say 1%, that's how much the option value will move. In this example, if we back at 240 strike price, and this is our Vega, if we have volatility increase of 1%, this Vega will go up of this amount. And all the Greeks needs to be summed or subtracted together. So every time that we buy an option, let's say we buy call options at 240, and the stock price moves $1, the option price will go up to 0.31. The time decay will be subtracted as minus 1.3. And the Vega, if the volatility goes up 1%, at the same time is going to go up of this amount. So we always have to consider that if we buy options. That's why, but that's something we're going to discuss further in other lessons. You always need to buy yourself enough time for the option to move in value. And it's not recommended to simply buy options with a very short expiration date. So for example, if I am today buying a call option, 240 strikes, I have a lot of theta that is working against me. So if I buy an option that is expiring 16th of January, which is just in a few days, we won't have enough time for the delta of that option to develop and add value to our options, because the theta is already bleeding out a lot of the value of the options that we bought. That's why, for example, if today I want to buy an option, I wouldn't buy an option with the 16th of January expiration that is just in a few days. I will buy myself enough time for the delta to develop and the theta not to eat all my price. So, for example, I will go with a 20th of February expiration. But we're going to discuss this in other lessons. Last, let's talk about gamma. Gamma tells you how fast delta changes. That's why option can suddenly speed up or die quickly. So in this example, if I buy a call option, 240 strikes, and I have a delta 31, the gamma is 0.08, this 0.08 adds to the delta. Obviously, if the stock is moving up $1, we're going to add this delta. And if it moves up another $1, we're going to add the gamma to the delta, which is going to show us exactly how much the option value is increasing. And always remember to consider all the other Greeks. So guys, this is how you use option chains. I hope everything is clear. If you have any question, drop it down in the comments. And that's it for today. We're going to go further in with explanations on how to place a trade in next lesson. But for now, that's it. I'll see you soon.